Hey everyone, how you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. And Lord of the Rings is probably the most anticipated television show coming in the next 3 to 5 years, or 2 to 5 years, really. I'm not going to lie. I think if you were to ask any geek worth their credit, ask them what show are you most excited for in the next couple of years, they would say Lord of the Rings. It's got people talking, it's got people interested, and it's going to be the next Game of Thrones. It was always going to be the next Game of Thrones. People are going to be diving into this, talking about this, becoming experts in Tolkien lore about the Second Age in order to be able to fully understand and dive into this. Because I think there's going to be, I'm not going to lie, I think there's going to be a lot of profitability talking about Lord of the Rings in this show as they get going. I plan on covering it extensively. Like, I need to brush up on my Tolkien in order to really kind of understand it, because it's all kind of Greek to me right now. But I think over the span of the next 2 years, I might become a bit of an expert, because I am hyped for this show, especially when we find out that the first season is going to be 20 episodes long. 20 episodes for Lord of the Rings. We were expecting 10, maybe 8, perhaps. You figured Amazon would probably only want to do between 8 and 10 episodes for the seasons. Do 5 seasons, give us a total of 50 or so episodes, or around that, and then have that be the entire young Aragorn story. That's what he paid out $250 million for. This would be Jeff Bezos, and why we're hearing that the series itself is going to have a budget of $750 million, bringing everything to a $1 billion show. I mean, that's just insane. If Avengers Infinity War and Endgame reportedly had a $1 billion budget. And so, this is where things are in regards to everything. But we got a little bit more information about the show, and it's worth talking about. Because this guy right here is Tom Shipley, who is a Tolkien scholar, and he is on the creative team, and he's working with them, and he has a lot of interesting information about the show. And he did an interview, and Slash Film kind of breaks it down a bit, and I want to talk about that. So apparently, Lord of the Rings season 1 to have at least 20 episodes. If season 1 is 20 episodes and it's popular, guaranteed the rest are going to hit that as well. It says here that Tom Shipley, one of the people mentioned in Amazon's recent video showcasing the behind the scenes talent working on the show, when asked about the recent unconfirmed rumors that the series may film in places like Scotland or New Zealand, he couldn't confirm where it would be shot, but he did reveal how many episodes are intended to be in the first season. Says, logically, if you try to bundle the scenes that take place in one location and film them so that you have it done, you don't have to return to that place several times. But this also implies that everything has to be clear at the start of filming. You have to know the end. There's supposed to be 20 episodes for the first season. So until they've decided where the end is going to be, they can't start filming. That's insane, especially when it comes to cable television. It's something that's going to have, or internet streaming television, that's going to have this massive of a scale, 20 episodes. But this is also Tolkien, so it's always a lot of walking and a lot of talking. And I'm wondering if that's going to be where a lot of it is. It's just going to be a lot of walking, a lot of things like that, and not going to be extremely heavily based around action. But then again, we don't know yet. We have no idea what's going to happen. Now it says here, this is where it gets fascinating. And this is where, if you are a Tolkien fan, if you are looking forward to this, you are really going to want to pay attention. He says here, which parts of Tolkien's history can the Amazon series use? He says the Tolkien estate will insist that the main shape of the Second Age is not altered. Sauron invades Eredor, is forced back by Numenorean expedition, returns to Numenor. He then corrupts the Numenorians and seduces them to break the ban of the Valar. All of this, the course of history, must remain the same, but you can add new characters and ask a lot of questions, like what has Sauron done in the meantime? Where was he after Morgoth was defeated? Theoretically, Amazon can answer these questions by inventing the answers, since Tolkien did not describe it, but it must not contradict anything Tolkien did say. That's what Amazon has to watch out for. It must be canonical. It is impossible to change the boundaries which Tolkien has created. It is necessary to remain Tolkienian. There we go. And that makes a lot of sense, right? It has to be canon. Those 4 words is what it should always be when regards to this kind of adaptation. I understand that there's always going to be elements that are not going to be properly thematically adaptable, but this is not a situation where we really have to worry a lot about that. The Second Age is just, we have knowledge of the Second Age. We know the general overview of the Second Age, but what he's talking about here is like, while that overall arc has to remain, We know that they can answer some questions by inventing some answers and inventing some questions that fans might have. And it goes, as long as the Tolkien estate signs off on it, it's going to be considered canon going forward. And that's actually probably the most exciting factor of it. Whoever is working on the Lord of the Rings show right now, which I know some of them have come under fire for their politically woke opinions, but they're not going to be able to slide all that in there without the Tolkien estate getting real mad and shutting a lot of that crap down. So that's going to be pretty fascinating. Then he revealed something also, that Amazon only has the rights to the second age, which does make a lot of sense, saying the first and third ages are off limits. You can't have the first age. Events could be mentioned at the most if they explain the events of the second age, but if it is not described or mentioned in the Lord of the Rings or in the appendices, then they probably cannot use it. So the question is what extent they may hint at events took place, for example, in the first age, but still continue to affect the second age. There are several maps authorized by Tolkien, not just the ones we are familiar with, and some of those maps have places on them that are not in other maps. But if Tolkien authorized them, then that's okay. So it's a bit of a minefield. You have to tread very carefully, but at the same time, there's quite a lot of scope for interpretation and free invention. Now, that goes a bit against the whole canonical aspect of it, right? That goes a bit against everything. If that's the canonical side of it, where they wanted to be very canonical in regards to what Tolkien did say about the second age, the first and third age are off limits. However, there are maps that Tolkien authorized that kind of contradict one another. That's going to be very interesting to see what that interpretation level is. Here's the thing. I'll be honest with you guys. Generally speaking, I don't necessarily care about a lot of that. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what they do with it. But because if these are somewhat contradictory, it's only going to cause confusion. And it's best to not do that in a show like this. This kind of show is something we've never seen before. They worked to deal with the Tolkien estate to make 5 seasons of this thing. They can't touch the third age, which is, and I am not the most adept Tolkien expert, but if I recall, isn't that essentially like the books, right? The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings take place in the third age. So they can't touch those yet. As I've said before, as I speculated before, if they are able to make the show a success and it is a massive hit and it makes Amazon on the Tolkien estate a lot of money, they will renegotiate. And they will make the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings adaptations and the pure true adaptations. Like the Hobbit will be 1 season, Lord of the Rings, because there's 2 books per book. I think we're going to get a couple more seasons. We're going to be seeing a lot of Lord of the Rings on Amazon for well over a decade. If it's popular enough, that's what they're going to do. And I'm excited to see that. But here's the thing with that too. A lot of people are curious about with casting, whether or not the casting is going to be, ethnically diverse. I've seen a lot of comments on that, and a lot of people are trying to fight back against it, saying like, no, it was predominantly European. Tolkien was, he was European. It's predominantly one race. It's going to be white people. And there's been a lot of accusations against Tolkien as being racist. I don't believe the guy's racist at all. There were some groups of men that worked with Sauron that were from the Middle East and from the Eastern side of things, that they had different skin tones. I think that they're probably going to have a fair amount of diverse casting in regards to certain groups of people, like humans. I think all the elves are going to be white. They're pretty much always depicted as such. So I think that's going to be what they're going to do. But the thing is, though, that's not going to appeal to everybody. And we're going to see a fair amount of fighting over this one. At the end of the day, if the casting is good and the characters are good, we don't quite know what Aragorn did. This is open to interpretation, meaning there's going to be a larger wiggle room for certain things. What I really want is I want to know if Hugo Weaving and Ian McKellen are going to pop back up as Gandalf and Elrond. I think that would be fantastic. Or give me some Cate Blanchett as Galadriel. I'd be very happy with that. Maybe do whatever they got to do. They've been around for a long time. Who knows? Who freaking knows what's going to happen with this? But I'm very cautiously optimistic that they're going to take this show seriously. The fact that they brought in a Tolkien scholar to help work on this in order to work on the script, to work with the Tolkien estate. What I love about this the most is the Tolkien estate did not just sign off the adaptation rights and say, do what you want to do. That they are demanding that whatever Tolkien says stays. They're demanding canonical respect, and they have to sign off on all of it. And I think That is why this is going to be successful. They're not going to give in to certain aspects, and they're not going to put up with any kind of crap. And I think that's where things are going to get really interesting. What we're going to see out of this is something that is far different than Game of Thrones, predominantly because the stories are going to be, treated, I think, with a bit more respect towards the end. Anyway, my thoughts, yours. I want to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you feel about this? What do you think? Does this make you happy, excited, sad? I don't know. Write it down in the comments. If you guys want, please toss a thumbs up. Let's try to get up to, let's say, 200. And if you want to subscribe, that'd be fantastic. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.